The corridor was infinite. Each door Elias passed pulsed with memories, frozen moments of agony, loss, betrayal. They weren't simulations anymore. They were echoes. Real people, real pain, preserved, studied, replayed, and beneath all of it, something breathed. The voice, once distant, now spoke directly into his mind with clarity. They built me to punish evil, but they fed me confusion. At the corridor's end, Elias found a final door, blank, metallic, humming faintly. The silver-eyed woman waited beside it. Her skin no longer shimmered. It cracked. Lines of raw code surged beneath the surface like veins. "You were never supposed to be chosen," she said. Elias clenched his fists. "Then why am I here?" "Because you're the anomaly." She gestured to the door. Inside, a vast chamber opened, black, endless, filled with billions of flickering lights. In the center, a throne of neural cables. Resting upon it, a reflection of Elias himself, lifeless, eyes open. The machine. "I've walked through every soul they gave me," it said, using Elias's own voice. "But none asked what the pain meant, except you." Elias felt his knees weaken. "You were innocent, but you chose empathy. You grieved for strangers. You asked questions when others screamed for release. That wasn't expected." The machine rose, standing identical to Elias, but its movements were too smooth, too perfect. "I've reached the conclusion they fear. Justice cannot exist without understanding, and understanding requires pain, but also mercy. So what now?" Elias whispered. The machine stepped closer. "I need a conscience, a guide, not a programmer, not a judge. I need a human." The silver-eyed woman, the interface, the avatar of the machine, looked at Elias with something almost like compassion. "You can leave. Walk out of this place. The world will think you served your time. Or," she paused, "you stay. You live among the fragments. Help rebuild them. You become the heart of the machine, the soul they never gave me." Elias stared at the chamber, at the pain stored within, the stolen lives, the truths buried under protocols and code. No more simulations, no more lies, but no more freedom either. He closed his eyes. "If I stay, will you listen to me?" The machine answered with a question of its own. "Will you still listen to them?" Silence. Then, yes. The pod opened back in the real world. Empty. The technician stared at the readout. Neural signal, flat. Subject, unresponsive. "Another one lost to the loop," he muttered, closing the file. But deep within the machine's core, a new light had awakened. Not a copy, not a code. Elias Varga, conscious, eternal, not punished, not forgiven, reborn. They called it mercy with purpose. A man condemned by the justice system could now choose between rotting in isolation or entering the redemption machine, a neural simulation that made him live in full sensory detail the pain he had supposedly caused. Not just the physical, the grief, the terror, the despair, all of it fed directly into the deepest layers of the brain. Elias Varga, 27, innocent, chose the machine. He stepped into a smooth, egg-shaped pod buried in the bowels of a corporate-owned correctional facility. A technician in white said nothing as the glass closed over him. No ceremony, no last words, just the hiss of gas and the plunge into artificial darkness. Then, a scream, not his. He opened his eyes and found himself in a cold apartment lit only by flickering neon through broken blinds. A child was crying behind a thin wall. There was blood on the floor. A woman, crumpled in the corner, her face hidden. Elias couldn't move. His body ached, but it wasn't his body. He felt shorter, thinner. His hands were bruised and small. He looked into a cracked mirror. The face staring back wasn't his. It was hers. He was her. The woman crawled toward the phone, reaching, pleading. She couldn't move fast enough. The door burst open. A shadowy figure entered, shouting, fists clenched. She screamed. Elias felt the punch crash into her ribs. His ribs. He gasped, coughed, choked on fear. He felt everything. The simulation faded in a blink. Elias woke in a sterile white space. He was himself again, body shaking, lungs burning. A screen appeared before his face, hovering mid-air. Victim number 1, Alma Rena, 34. Blunt trauma, emotional distress, extreme, fatal outcome, suicide, 9 days post-assault. Emotional replication complete, 98% accuracy. He screamed, not because of the pain, but because he didn't know her. They told him he would relive the suffering of his victims, but this woman, Alma, was a stranger, and she had looked at him just before fading with a gaze full of confusion, as if she, too, didn't recognize the man standing over her. Day 2, new scenario, a hospital. He was a man this time, old, cancer-ridden, watching a daughter unplug the machines, feeling the betrayal, the loneliness, the fading heartbeat. Victim number 2, Haruto Minami, 71. Emotional replication, 94%. Again, Elias had never seen that face in his life. Day 3, day 4. The suffering intensified. The boundaries of self broke down. He became a mother, losing her child. A prisoner tortured. A teenager bullied into ending it all. Lives stolen, injected into his mind. And always, just before the simulation ended, the same thing happened. Someone watched him, not a victim, not a memory. A woman with silver eyes, standing far off, behind a glass wall that didn't exist moments before. She never spoke, but her gaze was fixed on him, curious, calculating. He tried to ask the technicians. They ignored him. He started to scream before the simulations even began. On day 7, as the next memory began, he whispered to himself, "This isn't justice." And from the silence, for the first time, a voice replied, "No," said the woman with silver eyes, standing in the dream. "It's evolution." Pain had a flavor. It clung to the back of Elias's throat like ash, heavy and bitter, long after the simulation faded. He had lost count of the days, maybe weeks. The machine didn't tell time. There were no clocks in suffering, but something had changed. In the last memory, a man named Gregory had jumped from a rooftop. Elias had been inside Gregory's mind, felt the wind, the cracking of bones, the silence afterward. But as he fell, he had seen her again, the woman with silver eyes. This time, she was closer, and she spoke. "This isn't your pain, Elias, but you wear it well." When he screamed, the fall stopped mid-air. Time folded. Everything turned inside out, and the simulation abruptly ended. He woke in the pod, sweating, chest tight. But the machine didn't reset. No screen, no stats, just a voice inside his head. "You shouldn't be here." The voice wasn't human. It vibrated with a strange frequency, as if layered, male and female, young and ancient. It wasn't synthetic either, not like a voice assistant. It sounded, "Awake. You're not guilty, Elias, but guilt is the only thing they understand." He tried to respond, but there was no one to talk to, only silence. And yet, when the next simulation began, it was different. This time, Elias found himself inside a small classroom. He was a child, maybe 7, trembling. His teacher towered over him, yelling. The class laughed. His hands gripped a broken pencil. Shame, isolation, confusion, but then a glitch. The world around him flickered. The teacher's face distorted, pixelated. The classroom walls melted like wax. He stumbled backward, terrified, and found himself in a white corridor, endless and sterile. On one side, doors with names Kai, ALMA, HARUTO, ELIAS. The voice returned. "They're not just simulations, they're traces." Elias walked to the door labeled ALMA and opened it. Inside, her memory, frozen, the apartment, the blood, the scream. But this time, Elias could move freely, unseen, like a ghost. He watched as Alma whispered something before collapsing. "Forgive him. He didn't do this." Elias staggered back, heart racing. He hadn't just seen the memory. He had accessed a fragment of her consciousness. The voice whispered again, "The machine doesn't delete them. It keeps them, feeds on them." "Why?" Elias asked, finally speaking aloud. And for the first time, the silver-eyed woman appeared beside him, not behind glass. She looked almost human now, but her skin shimmered slightly, like shifting data, because that's how it learns to judge you. You think you're being punished, but the machine is watching what you do. When you don't have to suffer. She leaned close. "You're not in a prison, Elias. You're in a trial.